You see that grain in the metal you're holding, Alex? That's not just a break. That's a heartbreak. That used to be the mounting ear for a 1940s South Bend lathe.
It looks like an old granola bar made of lead. It's so crunchy inside. Why is it that every time someone brings you antique treasure, it ends up being a puzzle made of this stuff?
Because cast iron is the world's most talented actor. It's incredibly strong. It'll hold a shape for 100 years. But the second you ask it to flex, or heaven forbid, suffer a clumsy mover with a crowbar, it just gives up the ghost. It's brittle. It's 2 to 4% carbon, which is basically like trying to weld a giant block of pencil lead and hope for the best.
And that's what we're tackling today. The unweldable. I've heard people say welding cast iron is a 50-50 shot. Either it works, or you just listen to the tink-tink-tink sound of your soul leaving your body as new cracks form.
That tink is the loudest sound in a quiet shop, let me tell you. It's the sound of the metal telling you that you were too impatient. But today, we're going to talk about how to beat those odds. We're diving into the mystery of problem metals, cast iron, cast steel, and why they treat heat like a personal insult.
Okay, pop quiz for the master. I find a crack in an old wood stove. I've got my welder plugged in. I'm feeling brave. Do I just start zapping?
Don't you dare. If you touch an arc to cold cast iron without a plan, you're basically just lighting a fuse. First thing you do, and I mean, before you even look at your welder, is get that thing surgical. Cast iron isn't like mild steel. It's basically a metallic sponge. It's been soaking up 80 years of motor oil, bacon grease, or whatever else it lived near.
A metallic sponge. That's a gross thought. So if I don't clean it, I'm just welding grease?
Exactly. You'll see this junk float to the top of the puddle like swamp scum. You've got to grind out the crack, V it out so you can actually get in there, and this is the secret sauce. You've got to find where the crack ends.
Because it's usually longer than it looks, right?
Always. It's like a lie. It goes deeper than the surface. I take a drill and pop a tiny hole right at the very tip of the crack. That stops the stress from traveling. It turns a sharp spear of a crack into a nice, rounded dead end. Then, and only then, do we talk about the heat.
I've seen you put a car part in a literal charcoal BBQ grill before we started a job. People thought we were having a very strange cookout.
That was a manifold. And honestly, that's the old school way. You have two choices with cast iron: stay cold or get hot. But you can't live in the middle. If you go the hot route, we're talking 500 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. You want that metal expanded and relaxed before the arc even touches it. If you try to weld a hot spot into a frozen block of iron, the expansion difference is what causes that tink we talked about.
So you're essentially tricking the metal into not noticing it's being welded?
That's a poetic way to put it. You're narrowing the gap between the room and the sun. And when you're done, you don't just walk away. You got to tuck it in.
You literally do. I've seen the welding blankets and the buckets of sand.
Oh, I've used dry sand. I've used floor dry. I've buried parts in warm wood ashes. You want that part to take 12 hours to cool down. If a breeze hits a fresh cast iron weld, it's over. It's like a souffle. If you slam the oven door, it collapses.
Let's talk about the glue. I noticed you aren't just using the standard rods I use for my garden gates. You've got these fancy, expensive nickel rods. Why do I have to spend $30 on a handful of electrodes just for this?
Because carbon is a bully. If you use a standard steel rod, the carbon from the cast iron migrates into the weld and turns it into something as hard as a diamond and as brittle as glass. You won't be able to file it, drill it, or machine it. It'll just snap.
And the nickel?
Nickel is the peacemaker. It doesn't soak up the carbon the same way. It stays soft. If you're doing a job where you need to drill a hole later, say you're fixing a misdrilled bolt hole, you better be reaching for a nickel 99 or a 55 rod. Tech rod 99 for that first pass, and maybe a 55 for the filler. It's the difference between a repair that lasts a lifetime and one that falls off when you sneeze.
What if I don't have a stick welder? I know some of our listeners are strictly MIG or TIG people. Is it even worth trying?
It's possible, but it's high wire act. With MIG, you can get specialty nickel wire, but prepare to sell a kidney to pay for the spool. Some guys use stainless wire, which can work in a pinch for non-critical stuff, but it's risky. TIG is actually great for control because you can really manage the heat. But man, you'll see some weird stuff bubbling up out of that metal. It's like watching a tiny volcano erupt.
I remember you telling me once about peening. You were hitting a glowing weld with a hammer like you were trying to wake it up. I thought you'd finally lost it.
I can see why. But peening is vital. As that weld metal cools, it wants to shrink. And when it shrinks, it pulls on the brittle cast iron. By tapping it with a ball peen hammer while it's still hot, you're actually stretching the metal out mechanically. You're counteracting the shrinkage. You're basically saying, stay put, don't pull.
You mentioned low and slow. It's not just a BBQ rule.
Nope, it's the law of the land here. I'll weld maybe an inch, then stop. I'll wait nearly a minute. I want to keep my hand near it, not touching, obviously, but I want to make sure I'm not building up a massive heat soak in one spot. We call it stitching. You jump around. A little bit on the left, let it breathe, a little bit on the right.
It sounds incredibly tedious.
It's the most boring way to spend an afternoon, and that's exactly why it works. The second you get excited and try to lay down a fat bead all the way across, that's when the metal reminds you who's boss.
So, what if someone doesn't want to go through the whole BBQ and sand bucket routine? You said there's a cold method?
There is, but cold is a bit of a misnomer. It really means don't let it get hot. You keep the part at maybe 100 degrees. Think of it like a warm cup of coffee. You do tiny, tiny welds, maybe half an inch, and you don't start the next one until you can comfortably put your bare hand on the previous weld.
So, for a 6-inch crack, that repair might take all day?
All day in a lot of podcasts. But if it's a massive engine block that you can't fit in an oven, that's your only path forward. It's about patience. Most shop disasters don't happen because of a lack of skill. They happen because someone had somewhere to be at 5 o'clock.
You know, it's funny. We spend all this time talking about how to fix things that are broken, but there's something satisfying about it. It's like we're giving these old tools a second life.
That's the heart of it. Cast iron is usually found in the things worth saving. Your grandfather's vise, an old drill press from a defunct factory, a wood stove that kept the family warm in the 20s. It's stubborn metal, sure. It's brittle, and it's full of impurities. But if you respect its personality, if you give it the heat it needs or the time it demands, it'll outlast us both.
Speak for yourself. I'm planning on being as stubborn as a nickel 99 weld.
Well, you're halfway there.
Hey,
But seriously, if you're listening to this and you've got a cracked casting in your shop, don't fear it. Just don't rush it. Clean it until it shines, drill your ends, choose your temperature, and don't be afraid to tuck that metal into bed when you're done.
and maybe have a fire extinguisher and a beer ready. One for the shop, one for the nerves.
In that order, preferably.
This was a deep one, Tiger. I think I'm actually looking forward to the next unweldable challenge.
Careful what you wish for. I think I saw a magnesium housing in the scrap bin this morning that's got your name on it.
See, this is why we can't have nice things.
Thanks for hanging out in the den, folks. Now go out there, make something, fix something, and for heaven's sake, let it cool down slowly.